Do you recognize this place? I know, I know. You're probably not quite as excited about it as I am. This is the Icknield Way, which is, it's normally known as the oldest road in Britain. People just like you and me have been walking along this track for the past 5,000 years. Now, that's easy to say, 5,000 years. It's just a big number. So let's try and put it into perspective. This road that I'm on is older than the Great Pyramid of Giza. It's older than the giant stone circles in Stonehenge. It was already a major trade route around 2,200 years before the first foundations of Rome were laid. By the time the first stones of the Great Wall of China were being laid, this path had already existed for over 2,700 years. And to me, most astonishingly, there were woolly mammoths still thriving in Siberia when people were walking along this track. But they're only dates. They don't really tell us just how long 5,000 years is. So consider this. When people first walked along this route, there were no wheels in Britain. Wheel transport didn't arrive here for at least 500 years later. Also, when people first walked along this track, writing in cuneiform and hieroglyphs, they were just beginning in Mesopotamia and in Egypt. But in Britain, writing didn't arrive for another 3,000 years. So for the first 3 millennia, the people that walked along this path, they had no books. There were no books in Britain. There were no written laws. There was no recorded history. Apart from a few tribal kings stamping their names in Latin onto gold coins just before the Roman occupation, almost nobody here could read or write. Think about that. For 3 millennia, countless generations of ordinary people, as I said, just like you and me, they lived, they traded, they loved and died, leaving their footprints right here. They laughed, argued, fell in love, raised children, they buried their dead, but they left us no words at all. Every story and every piece of knowledge existed only in human memory. And when the final person who remembered them, when they were gone, an entire world disappeared with them. Imagine if somebody who first walked along this track 5,000 years ago suddenly appeared, right next to me. They wouldn't understand our buildings, our machines, or even our language. But without hesitation, they would know exactly where they were. They would recognize this track, and maybe even that piece of mud. And this isn't just an old road. This is an ancient road, one of the oldest roads in the world that you can still use. But history can be a little bit overwhelming, I know. There are dates and there are people and events, etc., etc. How on earth is anybody supposed to remember all that? But history isn't just about impressive buildings and battles and kings. Sometimes it can be seen in just a piece of ground, or in this case, a piece of mud. I mean, let me hang on a minute. Let me get one. Look at this. You have to be impressed with this. Well, I am. This bit of mud. So, I've got an idea. Bear with me on this. Let's make history really, really simple. All I want you to do is think about what people had on their feet, their shoes. Can you imagine what all those people who over thousands of years, what were they wearing when they stood in this exact spot where I am? Right here. They stood for thousands of years. The feet of Neolithic foragers and farmers walked on this mud, and they were only wearing raw deer hide wraps stuffed with dry grass. Then came Bronze Age traders in stitched leather slip-ons held together with thin leather straps. Over 1,000 years later, this area, this ground will have shaken under the iron-studded sandals of the Roman legions marching up here. After the empire fell, Saxon and Viking farmers walked this path in soft ankle-high turn shoes. These were stitched inside out from a single piece of leather, and then they were turned the right way round. Hundreds of years later came the quiet shuffle of medieval pilgrims wearing pointed leather shoes, which had worn paper thin by hundreds of miles of pilgrimage. If they were going that way, which is northeast, they could have been going to the shrine of St. Edmund, or where else? The Holy House in Walshingham. If they were going that way, which is southwest, they might have been going to Winchester Cathedral or the Abbey in St. Albans. After that came Tudor drovers driving livestock, through the winter mists in heavy square-toed boots caked with this mud. And much later, Victorian farmhands in wooden-soled clogs with iron hobnails. And what came later? I don't know. I really should think about what I'm going to say before I just start talking to a camera. I'll make a script next week. Oh well. I'll just say that now, finally, after 5,000 years, here I am, wearing Altberg boots with Vibram soles. 5,000 years of human history. And we're all standing on the same bit of ground. Sometimes you really do have to stop. Just stop and look around. There is always something interesting to see. Thanks for watching.